Ladies and gentlemen, there is a profound principle that underlies life, growth, and development. It is a truth that many of us resist because at its core, it involves an uncomfortable but necessary process, the act of letting go, of tearing down, and of starting anew. This principle is woven into the fabric of our very existence, and yet it's one we often overlook. To build something great, something new, something powerful, you must first destroy what already exists. In other words, to build yourself, you must first destroy yourself. This concept might sound strange at first. The word destroy brings about negative connotations. When we think of destruction, we think of chaos, loss, ruin. But today, I want to challenge you to think differently about this word. Destruction is not always bad. Sometimes destruction is a necessary precursor to creation. Sometimes destruction is the only path to growth. Sometimes what seems like the end is actually a new beginning. Think of a seed, for instance. A seed cannot become a tree until it first dies to its former self. It has to crack open, break apart, and lose its identity as a seed. Only then can it grow into something greater. It's the same for us. We often cling to who we are, to what we know, to the habits and mindsets that have defined us for so long. But if we truly want to grow, we must be willing to let go of those things. We must be willing to destroy the old in order to make way for the new. Let's explore what it means to destroy yourself in order to build yourself. This process happens on many levels: mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and even physically. It's about breaking down the old versions of ourselves, the limiting beliefs, the toxic habits, the fear-based mindsets, and replacing them with something greater. One of the first things that must be destroyed in the process of self-transformation is limiting beliefs. These are the deeply ingrained thoughts and assumptions that keep us stuck in a cycle of mediocrity. They are the voices in our head that tell us, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you'll never succeed, you don't deserve it. Limiting beliefs are like chains around our minds. They keep us from dreaming big, from taking risks, from stepping into our full potential. But here's the thing: these beliefs are not true. They are simply stories we've been telling ourselves for years, maybe even decades. And in order to move forward, we must be willing to destroy these false narratives. Destroying limiting beliefs requires a deep and honest self-examination. It requires looking at the stories we've been telling ourselves and asking, is this really true? Is this belief serving me? Or is it holding me back? This is not an easy process. It can be uncomfortable, even painful, to confront the lies we've been living with for so long. But it's a necessary step if we want to break free and build a new reality for ourselves. Another major barrier to growth is fear. Fear is a natural human emotion, but it's also one of the most destructive forces in our lives. Fear keeps us playing small. It keeps us from stepping out of our comfort zones. It keeps us from pursuing our dreams. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, these are all forms of fear that hold us back. But here's the truth: everything you want, everything you desire, everything you are capable of achieving is on the other side of fear. And the only way to get there is to destroy your fear. How do we destroy fear? By facing it head on. By taking action in spite of it. By doing the very thing that scares us the most. When we do this, we realize that fear is an illusion. It only has power over us if we allow it to. But when we confront it, when we push through it, we take away its power. And on the other side of that fear is growth, is freedom, is a new version of ourselves. Another thing that must be destroyed in order to build a new self is comfort. We all have a natural tendency to seek comfort, to avoid pain, to stay in situations that feel safe and familiar. But the truth is, growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. Growth happens when we push ourselves beyond what we think we're capable of. It happens when we take risks, when we challenge ourselves, when we step into the unknown. Comfort is the enemy of progress. It keeps us stuck in the same place, doing the same things, living the same life. If we want to build something new, we must be willing to leave the comfort zone. We must be willing to embrace discomfort, to welcome challenges, to see failure not as something to be feared, but as something to be learned from. This is not easy. It's human nature to resist discomfort. But if we want to grow, we must be willing to embrace it. We must be willing to destroy the comfort zone and step into the unknown. Because it is in the unknown that we discover new possibilities, new opportunities, and new strengths within ourselves. Perhaps the most profound form of destruction we must undertake is the destruction of the old self. This is the version of us that has been shaped by our past experiences, by our upbringing, by society's expectations. It's the version of us that is rooted in fear, in limitation, in survival mode. It's the version of us that clings to the familiar, even when the familiar is no longer serving us. But in order to become who we are truly meant to be, we must be willing to let go of this old self. We must be willing to destroy the person we once were in order to make room for the person we are becoming. This can be a painful process. It can feel like a death of sorts. But it is also a rebirth. The destruction of the old self involves shedding old identities, old labels, old ways of being. It involves letting go of the roles we've played, the masks we've worn, the expectations we've lived under. It involves a deep and honest reckoning with ourselves, a willingness to confront the parts of us that are no longer in alignment with who we want to be. This process is not easy. It requires courage. It requires vulnerability. It requires a willingness to step into the unknown and trust that something greater is waiting for us on the other side. But it is also one of the most liberating things we can do for ourselves. Because when we let go of the old, we make space for the new. When we destroy the old self, we make room for the new self to emerge. Once we have gone through the process of destruction, we can begin the process of rebuilding. This is where the real magic happens. This is where we get to create ourselves anew, where we get to decide who we want to be, what we want to believe, and how we want to live our lives. Rebuilding yourself is a conscious, intentional process. It requires clarity, focus, and determination. It requires a vision of who you want to become and a commitment to doing the work necessary to become that person. The first step in rebuilding yourself is to get clear on your values. What is important to you? What do you stand for? What kind of person do you want to be? These are the foundational questions that will guide your rebuilding process. Because when you know your values, you can make decisions that are in alignment with who you truly are. You can build a life that is based on authenticity, integrity, and purpose. The next step is to set goals. What do you want to achieve? What are your dreams and aspirations? What kind of life do you want to create for yourself? Setting goals gives you direction. It gives you something to work towards, something to strive for. But these goals should not be based on external validation or societal expectations. They should be rooted in your own desires, your own passions, your own vision for your life. Once you have clarity on your values and your goals, the real work begins. This is the work of daily action, of showing up for yourself, of doing the hard things that will move you closer to your vision. It's about creating new habits, new mindsets, new ways of being that are in alignment with the person you are becoming. This process of rebuilding is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong journey. Because as we grow, as we evolve, we will constantly be called to destroy old versions of ourselves and build new ones. We will constantly be shedding old beliefs, old habits, old ways of being, and replacing them with new ones. And this is the beauty of life. We are always in a state of becoming. Let's not romanticize the process of destroying yourself to build yourself. It is not easy. It is not without pain. In fact, it can be one of the most difficult and challenging things you will ever do. There will be moments when you feel lost, when you feel like you're falling apart, when you question whether it's all worth it. There will be moments when the pain of letting go feels unbearable, when the uncertainty of the unknown feels overwhelming. But it is in these moments that you must remember destruction is not the end. It is simply the beginning. It is the necessary precursor to rebirth. Just as a seed must crack open to grow into a tree, just as a caterpillar must dissolve into goo to become a butterfly, you too must go through a process of destruction in order to transform. And on the other side of that destruction is something beautiful. On the other side of that destruction is a new version of yourself, one that is stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true purpose. On the other side of that destruction is freedom. Freedom from the limitations of your past. Freedom from the chains of fear and doubt. Freedom to be who you were always meant to be. The joy of rebirth is worth the pain of destruction. The person you become on the other side of this process will thank you for your courage, for your perseverance, for your willingness to do the hard work of transformation. Because when you destroy yourself to build yourself, you are not just creating a new version of you. You are creating a life that is aligned with your highest potential, a life that is rooted in purpose, passion, and authenticity. Throughout this process of destruction and rebuilding, there is one thing that will sustain your faith. Faith in yourself, faith in the process, faith in the possibility of something greater. Because when you are in the midst of destruction, when everything feels like it's falling apart, it can be easy to lose hope. It can be easy to give up, to retreat back into the safety of the old, to cling to what is familiar. But faith is what will carry you through. Faith is what will give you the strength to keep going, even when the path ahead is uncertain. Faith is what will allow you to trust that the destruction is not in vain, that something beautiful is being born out of the ashes. This faith is not just a belief in something external. It is a deep inner knowing that you are capable of more. It is a belief in your own potential, in your own ability to create the life you desire. It is a trust in the process. A trust that even though you can't see the end result yet, it is unfolding exactly as it should. Faith is the foundation upon which you will build your new self. It is the anchor that will keep you grounded when the storms of destruction rage around you. And it is the light that will guide you through the darkness, leading you to the other side, to the rebirth that awaits you. The rewards of destroying yourself to build yourself are immense. When you go through this process, you emerge on the other side as a new person, one who is stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true purpose. You gain a deeper understanding of yourself, a greater sense of clarity about who you are and what you want. You develop a resilience that allows you to face challenges with courage and grace. And you experience a sense of freedom that comes from letting go of the old and stepping into the new. But perhaps the greatest reward of all is the sense of fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with your true self. When you destroy the old versions of yourself that were holding you back, you make room for the person you always meant to be. You create a life that is rooted in purpose, passion, and authenticity. You become the architect of your own destiny. And there is no greater feeling than that. So my friends, I encourage you today, do not be afraid of destruction. Do not be afraid to let go of the old in order to make way for the new. Embrace the process of tearing down what no longer serves you and trust that in its place, something greater will arise. Because when you destroy yourself to build yourself, you are not just changing your life, you are stepping into your true power, your true potential, your true self. As we continue this journey of destroying ourselves to build ourselves, we must understand that this process is not a one-time event. It is a continuous cycle, an ongoing transformation that we must embrace throughout our lives. Every stage of growth requires us to shed something old in order to make room for something new. Just when we think we've reached the peak of our potential, life presents us with a new challenge, a new opportunity for growth. And once again, we must go through the process of destruction and rebuild it. Think about it, even the most successful people in the world, those we admire for their accomplishments, their wisdom, their resilience, didn't get to where they are by holding on to the past. They continually evolved, continually let go of what no longer served them, and continually built new versions of themselves. They destroyed old beliefs, old habits, old ways of thinking in order to rise to higher levels of achievement. In the same way, we must commit to lifelong growth. We must be willing to destroy parts of ourselves whenever they no longer serve our highest purpose. This doesn't mean we should live in constant upheaval, but rather that we should remain open to change. We must be willing to look at ourselves honestly, to assess whether the way we are living is in alignment with our truest desires, and to make adjustments when necessary. This requires a mindset of flexibility. Rigidity is the enemy of growth. If we are too attached to our current identities, our current beliefs, our current ways of doing things, we will find it difficult to evolve. But when we remain open, when we are willing to destroy the old and embrace the new, we allow ourselves to continuously grow into the person we were meant to be. The concept of destruction and rebuilding doesn't just apply to our personal development, it also applies to our relationships. Often we hold on to relationships that no longer serve us. We stay in friendships, romantic relationships, or even professional partnerships that are toxic or stagnant, simply because we are afraid of letting go. We are afraid of the destruction that would come with ending those relationships. But just as we must destroy limiting beliefs and toxic habits in ourselves, we must also be willing to destroy relationships that are not aligned with our growth. This doesn't mean we should go around cutting ties with everyone in our lives. It means we must be discerning about the people we allow into our inner circle. We must be willing to let go of relationships that drain us, that hold us back, that keep us stuck in old patterns of behavior. Letting go of a relationship can be one of the hardest things we ever do. It can feel like a loss, like a failure. But in reality, it is often the most loving thing we can do for ourselves and for the other person. By letting go, we create space for new, healthier relationships to enter our lives, relationships that support our growth, that challenge us to be better, that align with our highest values. At the same time, we must be willing to destroy old dynamics within our existing relationships in order to rebuild them in a healthier way. Sometimes the people we love the most are the ones we have the most toxic dynamics with. But if both parties are willing to do the work, we can transform those relationships. We can destroy the old patterns of communication, the old ways of interacting, and rebuild the relationship on a foundation of mutual respect, love, and understanding. This is the essence of growth in relationships, the willingness to let go of the old in order to make way for the new. It is a continual process of destruction and rebuilding, one that allows our relationships to evolve along with us. A crucial element in the process of destroying yourself to build yourself is forgiveness. Whether we are rebuilding our relationship with ourselves or with others, forgiveness is an essential tool. Why? Because as we go through life, we accumulate wounds, we make mistakes, we hurt others and others hurt us. We carry with us the pain, the regret, the resentment from these experiences, and over time, these emotions weigh us down. In order to rebuild ourselves, we must be willing to forgive. We must forgive ourselves for the mistakes we've made, for the times we've fallen short of our own expectations. We must let go of the guilt and shame that keep us stuck in the past. This is a form of self-destruction, the destruction of the belief that we are unworthy, that we are defined by our past mistakes. Forgiving ourselves allows us to rebuild our sense of self-worth. It allows us to step into a new identity, one that is not burdened by the mistakes of the past, but empowered by the lessons we've learned from them. It is a form of liberation, a way of freeing ourselves from the chains of self-judgment. But forgiveness is not just for ourselves, it's also for others. As we go through the process of destroying and rebuilding ourselves, we must also be willing to let go of the grudges and resentment we hold toward others. Holding on to anger and bitterness towards someone who has hurt us only keeps us stuck in the past. It prevents us from moving forward, from truly rebuilding ourselves into the person we want to become. Forgiving others doesn't mean condoning their actions. It doesn't mean forgetting what they've done. It simply means letting go of the emotional weight of the experience. It means releasing ourselves from the prison of anger and resentment so that we can be free to move forward. Forgiveness is an act of destruction. It is the destruction of the belief that we are victims, that we are powerless. It is the destruction of the need for revenge, the need to hold on to pain. And in its place, we build compassion, empathy, and peace. There is a spiritual dimension to the process of destroying yourself to build yourself. Many spiritual traditions speak of the need to let go of the ego, to surrender the false self in order to connect with a higher truth. This is a form of destruction, the destruction of the illusions we hold about who we are. The ego is the part of us that is attached to external validation, to material success, to status and power. It is the part of us that seeks to control, to dominate, to be right at all costs. But the ego is not our true self. It is a construct, a mask that we wear to protect ourselves from vulnerability. And in order to connect with our true self, our higher self, we must be willing to destroy the ego. This is not an easy process. The ego fights to stay alive. It resists surrender. It clings to the illusion of control. But when we allow the ego to die, we open ourselves up to a deeper sense of peace, a deeper connection with the divine. We experience a sense of oneness with the universe, a sense of being part of something greater than ourselves. This is the ultimate form of destruction, the destruction of the false self in order to connect with the true self. It is a spiritual rebirth, a transformation that allows us to live in alignment with our highest purpose. In this sense, destruction is not something to be feared. It is a sacred process, a necessary step on the path to spiritual awakening. It is a way of shedding the layers of illusion, the layers of ego that keep us disconnected from our true nature. One of the most important qualities we need in the process of destroying ourselves to build ourselves is courage. It takes tremendous courage to let go of the familiar, to step into the unknown, to destroy the parts of ourselves that are no longer serving us. This courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move forward in spite of fear. It is the willingness to face the discomfort, the uncertainty, the pain that comes with destruction, knowing that on the other side, something greater awaits. Courage is what allows us to take the first step. It is what allows us to begin again, even when we feel like we've failed, even when we feel like we've lost everything. Because the truth is, destruction is not the end. It is simply a new beginning. And every time we destroy an old version of ourselves, we have the opportunity to begin again, to rebuild ourselves into something stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our true purpose. Courage is what allows us to trust the process, even when we can't see the full picture yet. It is what allows us to take risks, to step out of our comfort zones, to pursue our dreams with passion and determination. And courage is what allows us to keep going, even when the road is hard, even when the path ahead is unclear. It is what allows us to persevere through the challenges, the setbacks, the failures, knowing that each step we take is bringing us closer to the person we are meant to become. Perhaps one of the most challenging aspects of destroying yourself to build yourself is embracing the unknown. When we destroy the old parts of ourselves, we are stepping into uncharted territory. We are leaving behind the familiar, the comfortable, the safe, and stepping into a place where we don't know what lies ahead. This can be terrifying. The unknown is full of uncertainty, full of risk. But it is also full of possibility. It is where our greatest potential lies. It is where we discover new strengths, new opportunities, new ways of being. To embrace the unknown requires trust. Trust in ourselves, trust in the process, trust in the divine. It requires a willingness to let go of control, to surrender to the flow of life, and to believe that whatever happens, we have the strength and resilience to handle it. The unknown is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced, something to be welcomed. Because it is in the unknown that we grow, that we evolve, that we discover who we truly are. Intention is the force that shapes our reality. It is the guiding light that helps us navigate the chaos and uncertainty of destruction. When we intentionally decide who we want to become, we are no longer at the mercy of our circumstances or the patterns of our past. Instead, we become the architects of our lives, deliberately crafting a new identity and a new future. Without clear intention, we risk filling the void left by destruction with more of the same, more of the habits, beliefs, and behaviors that no longer serve us. We may find ourselves repeating old patterns, trapped in a cycle of self-destruction without true transformation. But when we approach the rebuilding process with intention, we create something new, something better, something that aligns with our highest values and deepest desires. So how do we cultivate intention during the process of rebuilding? It begins with self-awareness. We must take the time to reflect on who we are and what we truly want. We must ask ourselves the hard questions. What are my core values? What kind of life do I want to create? What kind of person do I want to be? What is my purpose? These questions serve as the foundation for our new selves. The answers we find will guide us as we begin to rebuild, helping us make choices that align with our highest intentions. And as we move forward, we must continue to check in with ourselves to ensure that we are staying true to our vision, that we are building a life that reflects our authentic selves. Intention is also about clarity. It's not enough to have a vague idea of who we want to become. We must be specific. We must have a clear vision of what we are building, and we must set clear goals to help us get there. This vision becomes our roadmap, guiding us through the process of rebuilding, helping us stay focused and motivated even when the journey is difficult. But intention is not just about what we want to achieve externally, it's also about who we want to be internally. It's about cultivating the qualities and characteristics that align with our highest selves. Do we want to be more compassionate, more resilient, more courageous? These are the qualities we must nurture as we rebuild ourselves. While intention sets the direction for our rebuilding process, discipline is what helps us stay the course. Discipline is the bridge between intention and action. It is the commitment to do the hard work day in and day out, even when it's uncomfortable, even when we don't feel like it. Rebuilding yourself requires discipline because the process is not easy. It requires consistency, perseverance, and a willingness to face challenges head on. There will be moments when the destruction feels overwhelming, when the old habits and beliefs try to pull you back into the person you used to be. In those moments, discipline is what will carry you through. Discipline is about creating new habits that align with the person you want to become. It's about showing up for yourself every day. Even when it's hard, even when you don't see immediate results. It's about trusting the process and staying committed to your vision, knowing that real transformation takes time. One of the keys to maintaining discipline is to break the rebuilding process down into small, manageable steps. When we focus on the big picture, the task of rebuilding ourselves can feel overwhelming. But when we take it one step at a time, one day at a time, we make the process more manageable. Each small step forward builds momentum. And over time, these small actions add up to significant transformation. Discipline is also about holding ourselves accountable. It's about taking responsibility for our own growth and being honest with ourselves when we fall short. This doesn't mean being harsh or critical. It means being compassionate with ourselves while also recognizing that we have the power to make different choices. We must be willing to course correct when necessary, to adjust our approach, and to keep moving forward with determination and focus. One of the inevitable aspects of the destruction and rebuilding process is discomfort. Transformation requires us to step out of our comfort zones, to confront the parts of ourselves that we've been avoiding, to face the fears and insecurities that have been holding us back. This is not an easy process, and it can be uncomfortable, sometimes even painful. But discomfort is not something to be feared. It is a necessary part of growth. In fact, discomfort is often a sign that we are on the right path. It means that we are pushing ourselves beyond our limits, challenging ourselves to grow in new and unexpected ways. When we embrace discomfort, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We allow ourselves to move beyond the limitations of the past and step into a future that is full of potential. We develop resilience, strength, and the ability to navigate challenges with grace and confidence. One of the most important lessons we can learn in the process of destroying ourselves to build ourselves is that growth and comfort cannot coexist. If we want to grow, we must be willing to be uncomfortable. We must be willing to face the challenges and uncertainties that come with transformation, knowing that on the other side of that discomfort is a stronger, wiser version of ourselves. Embracing discomfort also means letting go of the need for perfection. Often we resist destruction and rebuilding because we are afraid of making mistakes, of failing, of not being good enough. But the truth is, transformation is a messy, imperfect process. It is full of setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt. And that's okay. The key is not to avoid mistakes, but to learn from them and to keep moving forward. When we embrace discomfort, we also cultivate patience. Real transformation takes time. It's a gradual process. And it requires us to be patient with ourselves as we grow. There will be moments when we feel frustrated, when we feel like we're not making progress, when we want to give up. But if we can learn to be patient, to trust the process, we will eventually see the results of our efforts. As we go through the process of destroying ourselves to build ourselves, it's important to take time for reflection. Reflection allows us to pause, to take stock of where we are, to assess our progress, and to make adjustments when necessary. It helps us stay grounded in our intentions and ensures that we are building something that aligns with our true desires. Reflection also gives us the opportunity to learn from the destruction process. Every time we destroy an old version of ourselves, we gain valuable insights. We learn more about who we are, what we want, and what is truly important to us. We gain clarity about our strengths and our weaknesses, our values and our goals, and these insights become the foundation upon which we can rebuild ourselves. One of the most powerful tools for reflection is journaling. Writing down our thoughts, feelings, and experiences allows us to process the destruction and rebuilding process in a deeper way. It helps us gain perspective, identify patterns, and track our growth over time. Journaling also serves as a reminder of our intentions and helps us stay focused on the person we are becoming. Another important aspect of reflection is gratitude. As we rebuild ourselves, it's easy to focus on what's missing, on what we have yet to achieve. But gratitude allows us to recognize the progress we've made, to appreciate the growth that has already occurred. It helps us stay positive and motivated, even when the journey feels long and difficult. Gratitude also reminds us to appreciate the process itself. Transformation is not just about reaching a destination, it's about the journey. It's about the lessons we learn along the way, the challenges we overcome, and the person we become in the process. When we cultivate gratitude for the journey, we find joy and fulfillment in every step of the process, even in the midst of destruction and discomfort. While the process of destroying and rebuilding ourselves is deeply personal, it's important to remember that we don't have to do it alone. Community plays a vital role in our transformation. The people we surround ourselves with can either support or hinder our growth, and it's essential to choose our community wisely. When we are going through the destruction and rebuilding process, we need people in our lives who understand what we are going through, who can offer support, encouragement, and accountability. We need people who believe in our potential, who can see the best in us even when we can't see it in ourselves. These are the people who will help us stay the course, who will remind us of our intentions when we are tempted to give up, and who will celebrate with us when we reach new milestones. At the same time, we must be mindful of the people in our lives who may be holding us back. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones resistant to our transformation. They may be comfortable with the old version of us and may struggle to accept the changes we are making. They may try to pull us back into old patterns or discourage us from pursuing our growth. In these situations, we must be willing to set boundaries. This doesn't mean cutting people out of our lives, but it does mean being intentional about who we allow into our inner circle. We must surround ourselves with people who support our growth, who challenge us to be better, and who are aligned with our values and goals. Community also provides us with a sense of accountability. When we are rebuilding ourselves, it's easy to fall back into old habits or to lose motivation when the process gets tough. But when we have people in our lives who are holding us accountable, we are more likely to stay committed to our intentions. These accountability partners can help us stay on track, offer feedback and guidance, and provide a sense of camaraderie in the journey of transformation. As we go through the process of destroying ourselves to build ourselves, it's essential to cultivate self-compassion. This process is not easy, and there will be moments when we feel like we are failing, when we feel like we are not making progress fast enough, when we feel overwhelmed by the challenges we face. In these moments, it's important to be kind to ourselves. We must remember that transformation is a gradual process, and it's okay to have setbacks along the way. It's okay to feel uncertain, to make mistakes, to struggle with the discomfort of destruction. What matters is that we keep going, that we keep showing up for ourselves, even when it's hard. Self-compassion means treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a friend who is going through a difficult time. It means recognizing that growth is not linear, that there will be ups and downs, and that it's okay to ask for help when we need it. When we practice self-compassion, we create a safe space for ourselves to grow. We give ourselves permission to be imperfect, to take risks, to try new things without the fear of failure. This allows us to move through the destruction and rebuilding process with more grace and ease, knowing that we are worthy of love and support, no matter where we are on our journey. Self-compassion also helps us stay connected to our true selves. Often, in the process of destruction and rebuilding, we can become overly focused on external achievements or on meeting the expectations of others. But self-compassion reminds us that our worth is not determined by what we achieve or how others perceive us. Our worth is inherent, and it comes from within. When we stay connected to this truth, we are able to rebuild ourselves in a way that is authentic and aligned with our highest values. As we navigate the process of destroying ourselves to build ourselves, it's important to strike a balance between destruction and rebuilding. Destruction is necessary for growth, but if we focus too much on destruction without rebuilding, we can become stuck in a cycle of tearing ourselves down without creating anything new. Similarly, if we focus too much on rebuilding without allowing space for destruction, we may find ourselves building on a foundation that is not solid. We may hold on to old beliefs, habits, and patterns that no longer serve us simply because we are afraid of the discomfort that comes with destruction. The key is to embrace both destruction and rebuilding as equally important parts of the transformation process. Destruction creates the space for growth, while rebuilding allows us to create something new and better in its place. Both are necessary, and both require our attention and intention. When we strike this balance, we move through the process of transformation with more ease and grace. We are able to let go of the old without fear, knowing that we are creating something better in its place. And we are able to rebuild with intention and clarity, knowing that we are aligning ourselves with our highest purpose.